and call the meeting to order. It's Thursday, May 20th, 2021, and this is the Beaufort County Airports Board meeting. So let's go ahead and stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, so this is my first time, so everybody be patient with me, please. Before we get started, first thing I like to do is take a minute to thank Howard Ackerman for his service as the previous chairman of the board. Howard's leadership and guidance and vision has been excellent for both the Hilton Head Airport and the Beaufort Executive Airport. So I would just like to take a minute to publicly thank Howard for his dedication and service to the meeting, to the board.
Thank you, Trey.
So let's go ahead and move forward with item number 3 on the agenda. Public notification. This meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. If I could get a motion, we'd like to have an approval of the agenda for today's meeting. Raise a hand or a signal on your phone. I think we can do a wave. And makes a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second? Brian, we have a second. So the agenda is approved. Everybody should receive the minutes from the previous meeting of April 15, 2021. First of all, we could open up the conversation for any changes, alterations, deletions, additions to the minutes. If anybody has any recommendations or changes, let us know now. Doesn't appear to be any, so I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes for the previous meeting of April 15, 2021. Howard makes a motion to approve them. Do I have a second? And second for the meeting minutes of April 15, 2021 are approved as written. Next item, we will open up for public comment. As we know, public comment is limited to 3 minutes for each person. So we'll go ahead and open up the floor to any public comment. If anybody has any public comment, go ahead and raise your hand or signal us so we can let you have the floor. David?
Nope, not at this time. Thank you.
I saw your green microphone turned on. Thank you. All right, doesn't appear to be any public comment, so we'll move on to number 7, the director's report with John REMBOLD. John, I'm going to mute myself while you give your report, and then we'll come in and finish the agenda. You there, John?
Yep, I got you, Trey.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and mute.
All right, good deal. And just as we move past my report, you'll move into some of the new business and the action items. So just as a point of order, and during those, Trays, you go through and you get your motion in a second, then you can open up for discussion and then take a vote after that. So those items, they're listed on the agenda, the ones that will need a vote. So just while I'm doing my report, you can think through that and we'll be all set. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you. Just pick the right one to share. All right, hopefully you see our route map coming up in front of you in just a second. Hope we can see that. I can only see a couple of you folks. So David, do you see that? Does that work?
I do.
Excellent,
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so we'll start off the director's report. As you can see, that's our, as of next Thursday, that'll be the route map. So each one of those cities will have nonstop service. So we'll start on the 27th. United will add 4 of the cities, and on the 28th they add the other. I think it's 4 and then 2 is how they're adding them. So that whole complement will be open by Memorial Day weekend. Okay, just quick update on the legislation. I know I've tried to keep you folks updated as the as S675 has gone through the process up in the State House, but it was signed by the governor this week, so that is now law. And so that will definitely, it helps to safeguard the funding stream that's currently in place for the airports in the state, but it should increase that too. And it also anticipates a bit of a shortfall that would have happened in 22 um, because the receipts, the tax revenues, the receipts from those revenues actually lags by a full year. So the COVID effect of those revenues will not be felt until 2022. But this legislation should help that. I don't think it's going to bring it back to normal, but it should help smooth that just a little bit. And then going forward into for future years, then the full complement of the airlines, I think it's the airlines property tax, will then be put into the state aviation fund, which is a big deal. And that's going to result in some decent funding levels for the airports. And it's also going to give the state an opportunity to fund more of the commercial service airports, which it previously could not do. So the lobbying effort that got that across the finish line and really got the juice behind that item up at the State House was funded by the commercial airports. So we helped to fund that. And then the other commercial airports did as well. I think some of the GAs might have thrown in a little bit, but that was mostly funded by the commercial airports. So since that was the case, then the fruits of those efforts need, in some part, need to come back to the commercial airports. So we already see some of that. So, but the other airports like Charleston, Greenville, Myrtle Beach, and Columbia don't. So they will be seeing some of the fruits of that in the future. So that was a big effort. That was a monumental one to get finished. All right, just some photos for you. Kind of a fun month out at Beaufort Executive. They had a few different types of aircraft come in to visit, as you can see. Had some Marine Corps helicopters come in, had some jets, had some. I don't think this airplane in the middle there actually landed on the water or had any intention of it, but it would be fun to watch. And then a little bit of a novelty airplane on the right there. And good project out there. I know it doesn't look like much, a little parking lot cleanup, but it was really a long time coming to get that place fixed up and cleaned up and get all the spaces restriped. So now it's a nice, clean, neat looking parking lot that better reflects what we want the airport to look and feel like out there at ARW. So great job. And I want to give a huge shout out again to County Public Works. They did all this work for us and it didn't cost the airport anything. So Public Works has been just an outstanding partner, really in the last probably 2-3 years. Really stand out. We've got some more projects to work with them on at both airports, but it's awfully nice to have other departments of the county helping us out. So hopefully at some point, maybe we can help them out too. All right, and then let's see. We do have a new Facebook page for ARW. Paul got this set up for us. He did some research and had to do some troubleshooting and I think taking down an old Facebook page and then standing this one up. But be that as it may, there is now a Facebook page and he keeps it updated. So you'll see, if we have some more of those fun photos and things like that, he'll keep that fresh and folks can comment on it and, it gives our visitors a chance to log some of their experiences as well. So thank you, Paul, for putting that together. That's a good deal to get us up on social media. Fuel stats, hopefully you had a chance to breeze through these before the meeting, but just an awesome fuel month in April. Some of that jet was definitely helped by the Marine Corps helicopter unit that came in for some fuel, but we had a lot of jets and turbines out there anyway during April. It's a great month for us, and that definitely reflects here. Avgas was strong as well, very strong. Just a lot of flying going on, a lot of flight instructions, so that avgas really peaked. So strong months, and we're definitely thankful for that. And kind of a good news story is you'll see one of our action items is to increase a purchase order amount to buy fuels for resale. So what we did is we actually outran our purchase order for this year. So we have to get more approved so we can buy more fuel to sell more fuel. So we beat the COVID projections, which is great. We did kind of adjust downward last year when COVID hit, but we beat that, and we're going to increase the purchase order after you folks vote on it, and that way we could buy more gas to sell. So good news story there. And there's some more stats for you. The operations, very strong month in operations. Again, so lots of instruction going on out there. And then the total fuel flow there is, as you can see, very, very strong month. So hoping to continue that and really do well in the spring. Summer always falls off a little bit, as you can see in the slide here, because of the temperatures. But if we can carry a strong spring in there, hopefully avgas will stay strong and carry us through the summer. All right, any questions on Beaufort Executive before we go to Hilton Head? You have to just talk out loud. I can't see folks, so if anybody's got a question, just go ahead, pipe up.
John, it's David Ames. Just out of curiosity, when you compare 2019 revenues, not gross, but net revenues from fuel, and where you're projecting now with the lower fuel prices but greater volume, what's it look like?
Well, I think that a lot of it depends on where we set those prices, obviously, and we're still, it's not an exact science there, but yes, the volumes are definitely up on the avgas side. I think that we'll at least stay a little bit ahead of where we were in the past, but we hope to increase that a little bit. Some of that's going to be on the jet side. Probably most of the margin is going to come on the jet side. And some of the reason for that is that a lot of those costs are going to be pass-throughs through charter companies and that anyway. And for the most part, the folks who are flying in on those turbine aircraft and with the jets are not really shopping for a gas station the way the piston guys might. So we think we can do a little bit better on the margin on the jet fuel. So the goal is to stay at a minimum stay level of what we did in the last couple of years, but hopefully build on that. So we just don't know yet because we're not even a full year into this yet. So there's not really a good benchmark set with this model in place. So we'll let the year play out. Obviously, we take a little bit of consideration for COVID, although that actually seems to have helped us on the avgas side. So,
and what about operations at ARW? Are they up because of fuel prices?
I think partly that is the case, but I also think that we've seen a huge increase in flight instruction. So we've got a lot of flight training, a lot of pattern work up there, a lot of folks doing touch and go. So I think that accounts for a lot of our operations. And again, we'll just have to see. There's a lot of patches off the back of T-shirts hanging in the hallway up at ARW. So it's pretty exciting to see. We're going to figure out a way to display those and make a big deal out of it. But there's a lot of new pilots coming out of ARW.
That's great. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
John, if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
Also, we do have a lot of traffic in here for the golf and everything. In April, we had over 500 people come in here, and then, in March, and then April, that jumped up to over 750 people, passengers come in here that were dropped off to do golf. So a lot of that is the charter service is picking up as well.
Yeah, thank you. That was Paul chiming in. I'm glad he mentioned those numbers. If you will, we got somebody who's not on mute, so just jump back on mute there. We got a little background noise. But our staff up at ARW a couple of months ago started tracking the number of people who come in on the aircraft, and we use that just to keep track of the number of visitors, because everybody's flying in from someplace else, and we want to be able to report that to the tourism folks and local government agencies to make sure they understand what an important gateway ARW is for the county. All right, so we'll move on to Hilton Head now. Just a little synopsis here. Some of this we'll cover later on the agenda. Yeah, the new business power agreement. We'll get all this stuff as we move forward, but just kind of an intro. So this is a little heads up on what's going on. Is anybody else getting that background noise?
Yeah, I'm getting it, John, but I looked on the list and it shows everybody on mute other than you.
Okay.
So I don't know where it was coming from.
I don't know. All right, that could be the brain implant. All right, so that we'll move on to the next one. Project update. Nothing all that noteworthy to report on here, other than the two gates at the medevac gate and then the gate over at the admin building. We've got those two up and running now. So actually, I'm not sure if the medevac is 100% operational yet, but those have been installed. All the controllers are in place, and we're rocking and rolling there, at least at the admin side. So that's a nice addition. As far as the airlines go, even though most of society is starting to peel off the mask and get vaccinated and get back to a little bit of a semblance of normalcy, we get a lot of questions about how does that apply to air travel now. But that mandate, that federal mandate for all federal transportation systems, Amtrak, buses, aviation travel, that is still on the curb to curb concept. So once you begin your travel at an airport, you need to be in your mask all the way through to your final destination. When you leave your last terminal, you peel the mask off. But that's still in place right now. The deadline for that is September 13th. We'll see whether or not that gets adjusted. As you know, if you watch a little bit of the news, things have been bouncing around pretty frequently the past week or two. So we'll see what happens there. Just stay tuned on that. In the meantime, continue to at least have a mask with you in case you need it, and feel free to check in with your airlines before you travel. That's always your best bet. And then the real ID deadline, just a reminder, keep everybody in the loop. We've been talking about this kind of on and off for a couple of years now, and that deadline keeps getting moved. But my advice would be don't get up against that deadline. It's pretty easy to do if you're not in a rush. Everything's tougher when you're up against a timeline. Or a deadline. So go ahead and get that done. You'll be glad you did, and just have it out of the way. So that's a real ID. This is our newest member of the family at Hilton Head Airport. This is a sweet dog named Zora, and she's a comfort dog, comfort animal. And they're different than a therapy dog. So a lot of people think they're the same thing, but a lot of times, therapy dogs are not there to be loved on and, petted and stuff like that, because a therapy dog is trained for a specific individual and that individual's very particular needs. Whereas a comfort dog wears the same little or very similar kind of apron or vest, if you want to call it that. But on that one, it says, "Please pet me." And it's just Zora's the sweetest dog. She'll just sit there and let you pet her and talk to her and everything. And it's nice during the busy days in the terminal just to have a friendly dog, beautiful, soft dog, just walking around and just being there for folks to pet, talk to, and just calm down. It's amazing the effect that she has in the terminal. So real excited to have her on board. If you may remember, we had Sasha a couple of years ago, and she was great. So this is Zora's the next generation of comfort dog. So we hope to see her a lot inside the terminal. All right, digital billboards. I sent some of these out to you, but I wanted to include that here as well so you can see. But if you travel up and down 170, you're going to see these real bright colored ones that pop up. And we're cycling through several of these. I think we have 6 or 7, maybe more of these that are cycling through that digital billboard. So depending on when you come through, you'll get to see a different city on there. But we had an agency help us put these together, and we work with Adams Outdoor on this. So we like them. They're simple and they're eye-catching. The colors definitely pop out at you, especially on that digital board. They look really, really good at night too, or early morning. I see them when it's dark out, one way or the other. So they're really looking good out there, and our route map also shows up, so that's nice. And we just really want to remind local folks. We don't want to just advertise the folks who are in the inbound markets. It's important for us to have outbound passengers as well, and just let people know they've got options right here on Hilton Head Island. So I've got a few friends in Beaufort who are coming down this way to fly out. In fact, my father-in-law is flying out on the Philadelphia flight tomorrow. So excited to have be able to offer that nonstop service. So there's a lot of folks around here looking for those nonstop flights. And then we still have traditional billboards. I think I mentioned before, we still have the one on I-95 just before exit 8. So if you're coming up from Savannah, if you made that big mistake of flying down there and coming up here, you have a billboard reminding you next time you can come right to the island. And then if you're trying to sneak in the back way through 462, if you're one of those sneaky, minivan drivers, then we're going to catch you there too and let you know you ought to check out the flights next time. All right. I don't know if anybody's heard about this group, La Conquistadores del Cielo. My Spanish is not great. This group was in visiting Hilton Head Island last week, and we worked signature work like crazy to get ready for this. We had to coordinate with the FAA, close down part of Taxiway Alpha in order to fit all these jets, because we got a little bit of a heads up that we could see somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 40 large jets, and we just weren't sure how to take that, because it wasn't something that was really that we got much more notice about than that. It was just you might be seeing this, and they came. They definitely started dropping out of the sky last Thursday afternoon, and we ended up with 43 jets on the ramp. It's the most we've ever had out there. It was incredible, and huge hats off. I can't say enough in this meeting context about what Signature did to make this happen. They were just running around, marshaling these airplanes. They had lots of extra staff out there, and everything was done really safely and really efficiently. And I was impressed. I went over and just stood there and, of course, drooled all over the place at these airplanes, but just marveled at the professionalism of our FBO moving these big jets around, marshaling these pilots into the spots, and in and out, and wing walkers all over the place, but lots of extra folks out there to make sure that it was efficient and very, very safe, because these are not that you want to bump any airplane into any other airplane, but when they're in the $60 to $70 million range, you really don't want to do that. So I'll show you a couple of the pictures of some of the airplanes that were out there. This is a G650 parked next to a Global Express 6000, two of the big boys out there, and that's a frontal view of the 650. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous airplane. And that's another Global 6000, and then a CL600 next to it. So pretty airplanes out there. And then our county administrators has taken about once a month, he asked a couple of departments to submit a personnel profile on one of their staff. And so the past month we submitted Esau's name. Some of you guys might know Esau, but Esau Brown has been a firefighter, an R fighter at Hilton Head Island for 27.5 years. Before that, he retired from the Marine Corps as a crash fire rescue guy. So he has done a lot of this in his lifetime. And if anybody's an expert, Mr. Esau is an expert. We love Mr. Esau. He's the senior on our team. When we need to get something done, I can just, wherever Esau is, he might not be on duty, I can call Esau. And whether it's a personal matter that somebody needs help with, or it's something on the airfield, he jumps right on it. So the best friend you could ask for, and just an awesome member of the team. So I want to make sure that we highlighted this, and let you know too that the county administrator is trying to highlight the just a standout staff that we have. We've got great people working in the county, and it's good that they get some recognition. So big shout out to Esau. We're glad to have him on the team. He's working today too. So if you're by the airport and you see him, give him a pat on the back. But we're extremely lucky to have Mr. Esau on our team. So thanks for what you do, Esau. All right, now we got some big news here. Ms. Ann Esposito is our newest South Carolina Aeronautics Commissioner. District 1, which you can see there in the purple, had been gapped for a number of months because our former commissioner actually moved out of the area, so could no longer maintain that seat. And we were a little bit nervous because we thought that seat might transition up into the Charleston area, because it tends to do, and kind of get dominated by our neighbors to the north. But we submitted Ann's name, and thanks to Councilman Rodman for really pushing this up at the State House and making sure that we had a good solid win behind Ann. She was voted in, I think it was last week, we got the word that she was voted in, and she got her formal letter from the Secretary of State just Monday afternoon. And so she is a full-fledged member of SCAC, and as such, she'll be advocating on behalf of aviation in the state of South Carolina. So extremely happy. We know that Ann's going to do an awesome job. She's going to be a fantastic commissioner. So thank you for that. Ann, do you want to say a few words? I can't see Ann, so. All right, Ann, you don't have to say anything. We're all,
Ask her to unmute, John.
all right, well, we're proud of Ann. We'll let her talk to you another time if need be. But thank you. I'm glad she stepped up to this. And like I said, she's going to do a fantastic job as a commissioner. So we're lucky. All right. It's always interesting to me to look at these district maps because there's a few of those little airfields out there, Marsh Point, Pluff Mud Field, Salty Fair, you know, places that you may not normally think about as aviation facilities, but technically they are. All right, we'll get the fuel stats for HXD. Have this in your backup as well, but solid month there as well. And just kind of keep in mind, just for, you know, month-to-month comparison purposes, that April is Heritage Month, so we did have a little bit of a bump there from Heritage. There's your commercial and then your total flow. Commercial is really ticking up there, and I think we'll see that tick up again in May for sure. And then total flow. I got kind of interesting last week with the whole pipeline fiasco because as we knew that the conquistadors were flying in, the news of the pipeline broke, and we just we had to keep checking and making sure that we're good on fuel. And another hats off to Ben and the signature team. They were on it. They did have to roll to backup on that. The primary source ran dry, so they had to roll the backup. So they did that. It was seamless. You know, everybody on this side had no idea. You wouldn't have known that there was any issue out there. Ben and his crew just did a fantastic job of managing that and keeping everybody full of fuel. So thanks again to the signature team. All right, there's your passenger stats. You see those are really, really growing. We had over 34,000 people through the airport in April. That's with 2 airlines, so that's going to continue to grow this summer. Obviously, United started on the 6th, and they've been doing pretty well moving through so far, it looks like. And then, of course, next weekend, they'll add the additional flights to the additional cities. So those numbers are going to trend upwards, which is excellent, and certainly good for the town, good for the island, and good for the airport as well. So a lot of people moving through the facility. So, you know, there's always goods and bads with that. There are challenges that come with those numbers. So we end up dealing with that. We give you all the good news and try to deal with the bad news outside the board meeting. But there's always a little bit of stress that comes with that, but we're trying to manage that. So good news there. Folks are getting back to traveling. As I mentioned in past meetings, since we are a tourist destination and leisure travel is coming back a good bit faster than business travel, we definitely are benefiting from that. So I think we'll continue to see those numbers go up. And with that, I'll take questions if anybody's got any other questions.
John, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned Real ID, and the slide you showed, you had a date May 2023. Have they extended the deadline again?
That's what the deadline is now. Yes, they extended it, I forget, a couple of months ago.
To May 2023.
Right.
May 3rd, 2023.
Yeah, when we had the TSA briefing, then when was that, in February? They said they were holding to October this year. Remember from them? So I guess it's been since then.
Well, yeah, that was February, but it's 3 months later, and there's been so much has changed since then. So
yeah, well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? All right. Well, if not, then that will conclude my report. And Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it back to you as we roll into some of the new business and action items.
Thank you, John. Well done, as always. John, with the action items moving forward, would it be best for you to, I'm not that familiar with them, but would it be best for you to take them out, give a quick description to the board, and then I'll ask for motions and a vote?
Sure, absolutely, I can do that. There's
All right, so,
just to go.
so we'll go ahead and start with number 10, the fuel purchase order request for Titan Aviation Fuels. Go ahead, John.
I'm going to jump back one, well, actually two. There's no unfinished business, but there is just the other new business is a tower agreement. And that doesn't require any action, but all that is every so many years, the FAA comes back to the airport, and we do have an agreement with our contract tower. So the FAA and, there's certain items that the airport maintains within the tower, and then the FAA agrees to contract for the staff that runs the tower. And so we're just usually about every 4 or 5 years, we update the just the signatures that go along with that agreement. So working through that process now, but it doesn't require any board action. I just want to let you know that we're keeping all that up to date to maintain the contract tower. So moving into the action items, I'll do the first one and then let you all discuss and vote. That first one has to do with the fuel purchase order request that I mentioned before, and we're a little bit out of order just because of when meetings happen. But we've already had the Public Facilities Committee of County Council that's chaired by Mr. Rodman. They approved this. It's a $90,000 increase in the purchase order, which basically just gives us a little bit more room on our expense items so we can purchase that fuel and then resell it. So we resell it at a profit. So it's a benefit to the county, but we just wanted to get the board to vote on that so that you're on record as approving that.
Okay, so that being said, first we'll open up the floor for discussion. If anybody has any discussion or questions for John on the action item, fuel purchase order. All right, no questions. So we need to put this up for a vote. All in favor of approving the fuel purchase order request for Titan Aviation Fuels, either by hand motion or saying aye. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposed? All right. Seeing all ayes and no oppositions, and that is approved for an action item. Next one is 2021 Hilton Head Island Airport Digital Campaign. John, if you'll go ahead.
Sure. Trey, let me just remind you, as you go through the action items, just make sure you get a motion, then a second, and then do any discussion, and then take your vote. Just so if somebody watches this movie with popcorn later on, that they say, yeah, those guys really know what they're doing out there. So
all right, I'll do it. Thanks for the advice.
Absolutely, no problem. I don't know. We don't have a formal parliamentarian, so I'll fake my way through that. All right, second one is the Hilton Head Island Airport Digital Campaign. Okay, that's a fancy way of saying that we're doing some cooperative advertising again with the Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce Visitor Convention Bureau. We've done this the last 2 years as well, so you may recall that. But this is it's an item that has an expense that's high enough that we need to take it to committee. So that's what we're talking about here. That'll go to committee in June. And those expenses will be incurred in the next fiscal year. That's a $75,000 campaign, same price wise as it was last year. We take last year's campaign, tweak it a little bit, add some things, and refocus it, and then put it back out for this year. So that the main push on that type of campaign is to target folks who are already thinking about travel. So some of it's a little bit creepy because it's like, the ad on the side of your internet search that tracks you as you go. And if you go look at, travel of any sort, you're going to start seeing Hilton Head Island Airport ads popping up around you. So that's how that works. But we try to target folks who are looking at travel so that it's a little bit more effective campaign. There's some other pieces that go with that as well. And we'll let you know. Some of that's still being creative. We're trying to target some of those really cool new markets like Boston, and stuff like that. So that's what that campaign means. We've got a great partner in the VCB. They bring an awesome firm with them to help. But that's what that is. That campaign will roll. It's about a 6-month campaign, and it hasn't kicked off yet. It'll probably kick off in either June or July.
All right. So that means, thank you, John. We'll open up the floor for discussions, questions in reference to the digital campaign. Either just mute
John.
or unmute. Come in. Go ahead.
John, Jim Buckley. When the digital campaign gets completed, I recall in the prior year that we were able to get a report on the effectiveness of it. Is tracking that in a follow-up report part of the program?
It is. That's a great question. And yes, it absolutely is part of the program.
And John,
Thank
it's
you.
Howard. Is any part of the digital campaign planned for items along 278, either on the island or just off the island in Bluffton?
No, not for this. This is strictly, this campaign is all for inbound marketing.
All right, being no other questions or comments, we need a motion to vote on the digital campaign. If I could have a motion.
Jim Buckley, I
Brian?
move.
Okay, Jim, and we need a second. Brian, would you
Second.
like a second?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got a second. So let's take a vote on approval of the digital campaign, $75,000. All in favor, say aye or signal with waving your hand.
Aye.
All opposed? Either say you're opposed or signal with your hand. Seeing how it is in favor of the ayes, it is voted and approved. John, if you'd like to go to number 12, the change order for the runway 3 extension.
All right. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So as you know, the runway extension took place a couple of years ago. The grant is about ready to be closed out. And so at the end of a project like that, we do kind of a reconciliation change order to catch any loose ends that were not, caught during the project. But also in the case of this project, there was additional grant funding that was still available at the end of the construction. And one of the byproducts of the project was, all of our new edge lighting and things like that. And we were able to purchase some rubber mats that go around our edge lighting. And what that does is it helps to minimize the vegetation that grows up real close to the edge lights and can be a real troublesome thing to maintain. And it also helps to eliminate some of the erosion that sometimes takes place right next to the edge lights. All those, both vegetation and erosion, are Part 139 inspection violations. So by purchasing these mats, it helps to reduce the the possibility of having those as inspection violations, and keeps it a little bit safer out there. And long-term maintenance is going to reduce that maintenance cost a little bit. So that was, I'm going to say that was about $200,000 in change of the total change order. So the lion's share of that was adding those mats around all of our 420 edge lights. So what we need, though, because that change order amount actually increases the contract amount for Quality Enterprises, it needs to be approved by you, and then it moves on through committee and council for final approval. So.
Okay, thank you, John. That being said, we'll open the floor up again for questions, discussions, comments. Anybody, just go ahead and unmute.
Yep, this is Mark Bailey. John, quick question. You're saying that this increase in cost was a result of an increase in scope while the work was ongoing. Is that what I understand correctly?
Yes, sir. You got it.
Okay, thank you.
And John, just one other question. This appears to be the final change order. This will close out the grant and the money for this runway extension. This is the final, correct?
Yes, you're correct. Once this is approved, then we'll be able to pay the final pay request from the contract, and we'll close the grant out.
Good. All right. That being said, I need a motion from the floor to vote on this for the change order for runway 3 extension in Hilton Head.
So moved.
Howard,
Yep.
Howard Ackerman for the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So, okay, I got a second. I don't have everybody's photo up on my screen, so if you would say your name just for the record, that'd be great. So we have a first and a second, so we'll go ahead and vote on it. All in favor of approval of the contract change order 4 for the runway 3 extension at Hilton Head, say aye or signal with the use of your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, either signal of your hand or say opposed. It appears the ayes have it, so therefore it is approved for the change order number 4, runway 3 extension. We'll move on to Hilton Head Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting Class 4 truck. John, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an ARF truck. It's a 1,500-gallon ARF truck that will be very, very similar, although a lot newer than the current 1,500-gallon truck that we've got at Hilton Head Island Airport. And this is a requirement for us because of the increase in index for the airport. It's now Index B. We already meet that index with our two vehicles, but they're both very old. So we were due to replace the 1,500-gallon truck that we have. We're going to maintain that because it's good to have two of those. And this will be a brand new truck. So we actually opened those bids last week Wednesday, and it appears right now that Oshkosh is the low responsive bidder. So they're the ones that we're going to enter into a contract with to have them build that truck. Now it takes about a year, a little bit over a year for them to actually, put that whole truck together and have it ready for delivery. So it'll be sometime around this time next year that, this time or the next month or so. I think they've got it a year and a month is about what it works out to be. And so after that, then we'll have a bright, shiny new fire truck at the ARF. And this one actually, just so you know, is typically a 90% FAA grant that is eligible. This year, because of the latest round of federal relief, it's 100% funded by the FAA. So the whole cost is $699,000. That'll be covered 100% by the FAA.
All right, great. So again, we'll open up for comments, questions in reference to the approval of the Oshkosh truck, which is the low bidder. Good to hear, John, that you've done your homework for the FAA 100% approval to pay for that. That's great news. So, any comments or questions for our director? All right, being no questions or comments, I need a motion to take a vote for the approval of this.
Jim Buckley, move approval.
Jim, on the motion, do I have a second? And then Brian, we'll give it to Ann for the second. We'll take a vote on it now. All in favor, either signal by raising your hand or voting aye.
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 Okay, and anyone opposed, the same, either by signaling your hand or voting opposed. Here's the ayes have it, so that is approved. Next item, John, is number 14, the food concessions. You have the floor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, food concessions is something that we had actually started a couple of years ago, and we had put out an RFP and really didn't get any response on it. So we were working with a company, and then COVID hit and kind of derailed everything. So we went back out with an RFP this year. We got 3 responses to the RFP. Only 2 were really responsive, were fully responsive. And we selected Tailwind Concessions. They're out of Wilmington, North Carolina. And they're very familiar with doing, smaller regional destination airports. They've got a lot of experience with tying in local businesses with their business to make the concessions happen. They've got a great idea of how what the size of the airport is and how to make their operations fit. So we're planning on working with them. Purchasing is working on a contract as we speak to get that out to Tailwind. And we're excited to get some concessions in the terminal so that the current the current vending area will be transformed into a kind of a cafe area. And then there'll also be some limited offerings past security as well. One place will be in the modular hold room, and be kind of a kiosk in there for folks to get some refreshments post security. So we're hoping to help control or tame the savage beast of the summer crowds by having some concessions available for folks in there before they go through security, so everybody's not in a rush to go through security. So we're excited to have that, and like I said, we are working on a contract to enter into with Tailwind Concessions. So just looking for your buy-in on that.
Again, we'll look back the floor for any comments, questions.
John, I have a question.
Go ahead. Jim?
I think we have to have them. Do we have the motion first, or?
We've been doing the open discussion, therefore we can ask questions.
Okay, fine. John, two questions. One is, what's the length of the agreement? I saw the classified ad in the packet advertising for this. what is the length of the agreement of the contract? And if it moves out more than a couple of years, would they be the vendor for the new and expanded terminal?
Excellent question, Jim. It does have a limited first term, and that's exactly because of the fact that we'll be building the new terminal. So I don't have it in front of me. It's either 2 or 3 years to start out. So, and we did talk with them, and they understand that there's a new terminal that is being, designed, and they understand that we would, in all likelihood, rebid the opportunity at that time. So they're comfortable with that.
Assuming, John, one more question, if you don't mind. Assuming all goes according to Hoyle, when would they become the effective concessionaire?
They are, based on a handshake and a phone call, they already are.
Okay, great. So when do you anticipate the changes?
Within 30 days.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments in reference to the food concessions at the terminal building in Hilton Head? All right, so we'll ask for a motion from the floor to vote on the approval of the food concessions.
So moved with excitement.
Okay, I have a motion from Leslie. Thank you, Leslie. Second. And you get the second. We'll take a vote. All in favor, vote by saying aye or showing a signal of your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed, either say opposed or signal of your hand. That's not my signal. All right, that being said, it appears the ayes have approved the vote for the food concessions, the short-term contract until the new terminal building is ready. All right, we'll move on. And thank you for your patience. My first time as chairman. I promise you I'll be better prepared for the next meeting. I am not familiar with all the chairmen, so if you're a chairman of a committee, if you would just unmute, introduce yourself, and if you have any comments or updates, go ahead and take the floor. We'll acknowledge who you are, and then you can give your committee report. Chris, I believe you might be the committee chairman for Beaufort Executive, if you want to speak up.
Chairman, this is Elena. We still need to get a motion and a second for the fuel purchase order, please.
On the fuel purchase?
Yes, we didn't get a second, not a motion.
Okay, good. Thank you, Elena. So we have a motion for the approval of the fuel purchase order. Do we have a second from the floor? Brian seconds.
Second, Jim Buckley.
And Jim seconds. So Brian, for the record, will get second. We'll take a vote for the approval of the purchase order for the additional fuel purchase. All in favor, say aye, or by signaling with your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. All
Aye.
opposed, either say opposed or signal by a wave of your hand. So it appears the ayes are in favor of that. So that is approved for the fuel purchase. Thank you, Elaine. We'll move on to item number 15, the chairman update. If any chairmen have any updates, just go ahead and introduce yourself and give us your update, please. Anyone? So no committee reports and updates. We'll move to citizen comments. All citizens are welcome to speak at the meetings. Each citizen will be given 3 minutes. If you are a citizen and want to comment, just unmute, introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes. So I'll open up the floor to any citizen comments.
Mr. Chairman, David,
Yes.
David Ames. I'm speaking as the liaison from the town of Hilton Head to the aviation, our airport board. 3 things. What was the cost of the fire truck? $675?
Total cost for the Oshkosh, the 2 bids were Oshkosh and Rosenbauer. Oshkosh total price was $699,380. Rosenbauer was $722,228.60. So it appears that Oshkosh was about $23,000 less. And as John mentioned in his report, this will be funded 100% by the FAA.
Thank you, Trey. The second item, and this is really directed at John. John, the new town manager of Hilton Head, has said to me that he's planning to meet with you shortly if he hasn't already. I'm encouraged by his interest in the airport and look forward to the two of you working closely together. And then the third item, again, really congratulations to John on putting this ceremony together. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the unveiling of the turtle, Myrtle the turtle, in the airport. And if John has a report as to what people are saying about that, whether they're looking at it and so on, I'm a big advocate of reinforcing the Hilton Head natural environmental stewardship brand. And so I think it's fantastic that that turtle has been added to the terminal.
All right, well, David, I want to just jump in real quick and thank you for your, you kind of got that spark going, and of course Mira and her folks really jumped on it as well with enthusiasm. I know that I got a note during the meeting from Elena that the county channel may be able to play us the video clip from that unveiling, and I kind of waved her off, but if the county channel is able to do that, that'd be pretty cool if they can play it. I don't know if it's too short notice for them. So Elena, can you maybe check on that and see if they can play just the Myrtle the turtle? I think it's only about a minute long. There you go.
John, it sounded to me as though there were a lot of people there.
There were a lot of people there. It was great. There was a lot of blue shirts and a whole bunch of other people, and it just so happened that we had a flight deplaning at the same time, so everybody coming to get their baggage got to participate as well. It was perfect timing.
Good.
All right, I put the county channel on the spot. We're doing awesome.
And John, you had a great speech.
Well, thank you. I like the one that they showed on this clip. It was very, very short and to the point, right? But I will tell you that I asked them to take that out because too many words, just too many words. But I welcome the whole concept with enthusiasm, and I try not to get personal about what goes into the terminal and that sort of thing. But I really, from the whole, I guess, the citizenship of the airport and within Hilton Head Island, I don't think there's a better thing that we could have done, especially in this season. It was perfect timing. I mean, just a couple of days after the unveiling, the first nest on Hilton Head Island was discovered. So it was huge. Very exciting, great timing, and we're thrilled to have Myrtle in there, and then hopefully she'll be there for a long time.
I don't want to belabor the point, but just by way of offering some information, the Myrtle the turtle is standing on a travel box that has stickers of all the places that she's traveled around the world. Azores, she lays something like 8 clutches of eggs every other year on Hilton Head. She's been doing it for years. She's something like 60 years old. It's an amazing story. And I just think it's great for travelers to be able to learn about that when they're waiting for an airplane or waiting for their luggage. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Always appreciate your participation. David, John, if we could go off agenda just for one quick minute, any idea or conversation when we might go back to in-person meetings?
I don't have a date on that yet, but I'll check with Elena. I know like county council is doing some hybrid meetings at this point, so we'll check in and see. As soon as we can, we will. It'll depend on the venues that we need to go to, both at the county and the town.
Well, good. It's taken me about a year to figure out the web meetings. But I personally miss the camaraderie and the fellowship of actually having meetings in person. So the sooner we can all get together for real meetings, I think the board will even excel even more. So, all right, good. Before we adjourn, I'm going to go ahead and announce the next meeting will be June 17th, 2021 at 1:30. That is scheduled to be a virtual meeting. So look for your emails from Elena. She's great. Always get ahead of the game. Provide us the information we need and the links. So that being said, I'll pass.
Before
Go
you,
ahead, Brian. Did you have
before you
something?
adjourn, this is Stu, if I could.
Yep.
Before you
Go ahead, Stuart. Stuart,
Yeah,
you have the
couple
floor.
things. We either just passed or are passing a change to the meeting such that anybody who can't attend in person can attend electronically. So I think that'll take care of that issue. And so actually you probably go back to meeting whenever you want to. Secondly, again, thanks, congratulations to Ann. And thirdly, maybe a quick question I should have maybe asked John earlier. And it sounds like part of our success is that we're quite crowded on Saturdays. And I've gotten a few emails from people that are concerned. Is this something, John, that we can work through, or are we going to have a problem throughout the summer with the number of flights?
Steve, thanks for that question. And that is one that we get pretty frequently as well, because it does get real busy on the weekends. I've got a call. I had a call with TSA the other day, and I've got another call with the airlines coming up early next week, just to talk through some of the mechanics, some of the operations that we can maybe make a little bit more efficient inside the terminal and actually with ramp operations as well. So it's an issue that, everybody says is a great problem to have, and that only goes, so far. But so we're working together with our teammates, the airlines, the people are theirs to manage. And so we're going to work with them to see what solutions they can come up with to kind of help that flow.
And John, I know some of it sometimes is weather related with ATC and so on. Do the airlines set the schedules as to when they're coming in, or is there some type of coordination between them so that they're a little spread out?
No, it has probably most to do with the fact that we're a destination airport, and so our banks are very distinct. Or say the banks at the other airports who release the airplanes to us are pretty distinct. So we receive the airplanes when they get sent to us. We happen to be primarily an East Coast airport, so we're going to get on those banks. They're all going to their flight times are not that different unless you talk about a DFW flight or a Chicago flight. All the East Coasters are basic arriving here at about the same time or within 15 to 30 minutes of each other. So it is what it is. It's just a fact of us being a destination airport.
Okay.
Well, John, I would like to add to that, John. I think probably the main factor is with rental properties. Most rental properties on Hilton Head are Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday. That's just the most common. Saturday to Saturday being the most common. So the airlines, when people are searching for flights, the algorithms read that they're always looking for Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday, and they're going to adjust the flights accordingly. So as you have this conversation, John, keep in mind the bulk of the people that are coming down for a week vacation or 2 week vacation, they need to come in on Saturday and they need to leave on Saturday, or they need to come in on Sunday and leave on Sunday. So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brian.
John?
Ann, go ahead. Ann, you have the floor. Brian next.
Yeah, I finally figured out how to unmute. Oh my gosh. I just wanted to thank you, John, for your kind words. I wanted to thank you, Stu, for pushing my appointment through. I think I want to thank you for that. I had my first commission meeting this morning, and it was like drinking through a fire hose. I have a lot to learn, but it's very, very interesting. I look forward to it. I look forward to meeting all the commissioners in person. I think it's going to be a great experience, a great learning experience. And I just want to thank you, John, again for your very kind words. And Stu, I'll think about thanking you. I'll think about that. We'll talk.
Thank you, Ann. Congratulations. Brian, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, First of all, congratulations to Ann. I think that's a great choice, and I think we're going to be proud of her. John, I want to go back and ask two questions about Hilton Head related to what we were just talking about. The weekends are busy. Last weekend, for the first time ever, I saw not 2, but 5 airliners all waiting over there at the terminal at the same time. And unfortunately, there's only 3 gates in there. So the other 2 were clogged on the taxiway. And I'm beginning to wonder whether there's going to start to be complaints either from the airlines or the passengers about that. I don't know, you said you're going to talk to the airlines next week, but that really seems to me to put the pressure on getting that terminal built, and it's not going to happen overnight. And along those lines, about a year or so ago, we started talking before COVID about the acquisition of a radar feed for the control tower. Is there any follow-up on that with all the traffic coming in now?
Sure, thanks, Brian. Now, the first one seemed like more of a comment than a question, so I'll just let that lie. The second one about the radar, yeah, we're going to get back and touch on that one. I've got a little bit of a plan here to work through on that. There have been some letters that have circulated from some of our controllers about that, and they've given us a little bit of background on the necessity for that. So, and we are currently working with the Marine Corps Air Station and the Marine Corps to upgrade some of the other communications between us and them in order to make those communications a little bit more efficient, or a lot more efficient than what they are now. So we're continuing to look at that, and in fact, we just had a meeting this morning about budget items for the tower too, just to make sure that we're continuing to upgrade the technology up there, because it's becoming more and more important with more jets coming in and out of Hilton Head.
Anyone else for some last minute comments?
Yes, Jim Buckley for a moment. Talking about jets coming in, I was one of the people fortunate to be out to welcome the new jet and the United point-to-point service that's being used. And it is remarkable to me that they took a 70-seat aircraft, pared it down to 50 seats, and are offering 3 classes of service. That is a wonderful thing, and it's good for them revenue-wise, but it's also a really great positive for those high-end flyers that want to come in and out to have that ability. It was a beautiful plane, beautiful interior. And with the point-to-point, those non-stops that John pointed out earlier in the presentation will enhance the ability for our community. And when people talk about concerns about the aircraft and busyness, those people that are coming in on these planes are the future residents of our community and the cycle of life that we have in Hilton Head. So it should be encouraged and enhanced. And when we all chat with people, we need to be very positive about the impact of the airport and its long-lasting results in keeping the funnel full in our community. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jim. So, as for motion, assuming you have to have a motion, second for adjournment. Anybody motion to adjourn? Howard?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second? Jim, I second. So, everybody include 2:37, 1 hour and 7 minutes. Congratulations, that's good. We'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting for this meeting. We'll let supervisor resume. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.